Biocompatibility is an integral part and of paramount importance in the field of implantable biomaterials and medical devices. For this reason, it is a fundamental part of the training of biomaterial majors as well as of other biomedical engineers who are interested in implantable materials and medical devices. The BME Biocompatibility of Materials course at UTSA is an introduction to this important area of biomedical engineering. The focus of the course is on the challenges biomedical engineers face in order, 1, to enhance desirable and timely interactions of surrounding cells and tissues with implanted biomaterials, and 2, to promote normal tissue regeneration and formation of new and functional tissue around implantable medical devices post-implantation. For that purpose, a short historical review, but primarily several current trends and developments were discussed during this semester. What we should always remember, however, is that quote-unquote biocompatibility is a continuously evolving concept, even as we speak. Some pertinent aspects and thoughts will be presented in Lecture 31, whose title is Biocompatibility, Past, Present, and Future. An early definition of the term biocompatibility is shown on this slide. Biocompatibility refers to the ability of a material to perform with an appropriate host response in a specific situation. This particular definition was provided by Dr. Dave Williams, who is an expert in the biomaterials field and has had a well-renowned career in this particular biomedical engineering area. This definition of Professor Williams is the starting point of a series of articles which he published in the biomaterials literature, in which he not only challenges, but he proposes major changes in the definition of the concept of biomaterials. In fact, Dr. Williams has provoked a lot of discussion regarding the term biocompatibility because he came with a particular statement, the title of one of his publications, which is, "There is no such thing as a quote-unquote biocompatible material." This particular statement provoked a lot of discussion regarding the current definition of biocompatibility. Professor Williams has made some noteworthy arguments regarding the quote-unquote old definition of biocompatibility. He argues that the clinical evidence of the biocompatibility of implantable materials and devices has been presented in terms of specific areas of the body, specific organs, etc., and hasn't been a unified theme or concept underlying all these evidence and experiences. The old definition of biocompatibility has been based on classical wound healing processes. That means that the most recent developments of what is happening in the process of tissue wound healing have not been incorporated. In this particular regard, an aspect which he makes a very strong point is that The latest information regarding the cellular level events, even the molecular and the gene, have not incorporated into the definition of biocompatibility. Definitely, we should not forget that the biological, physiological systems are variable and complex, and we need, therefore, a definition of biocompatibility which will reflect that variability and complexity. The solution, or alternative definition, if you wish to call it like that, proposed by Dr. Williams is that we need a unifying theory definition of biocompatibility, which brings together, integrates in understanding of interactions within the material host systems. Those are the words that he chose to put together for expressing this particular concept. Additional noteworthy arguments presented by Professor Williams are some facts from the past, specifically that the term biocompatibility has been used to describe a biomaterial property. And in the past, the biomaterial science dealt only with implantable medical devices. What is the situation in the present? Totally different, because biomaterials nowadays are used for many other applications. For example, in tissue engineering, cell therapy, imaging methods, diagnostic systems, drug delivery, gene delivery, etc. Therefore, the recent use of biomaterials has expanded, and the definition of the term biocompatibility should accordingly be modified to incorporate these particular new trends and developments. Professor Williams proposes a new definition of biocompatibility which reflects the significance of the new understanding of this important concept, and argues that the new definition is needed in order to incorporate the use of biomaterials in new medical applications. For example, in implantable biomaterials, the biocompatibility means that where the material is not going to do any harm, and in addition it should promote the interaction with the surrounding tissues. In the new fields of tissue engineering, for example, biocompatibility not only means do not harm, but also requires promotion of active and synergistic interaction with surrounding cells in order to promote cell functions pertinent to new tissue formation. New tissue formation is the desirable outcome of all tissue engineering applications. In addition, Professor Williams proposes that the repertoire for testing and in selecting the qualified biomaterial candidates for use in humans should be expanded. This approach, of course, requires that outdated old tests, which were established mainly for regulatory approval purposes, should be replaced with new ones which incorporate recent advances and knowledge in various areas of biomedical sciences and engineering. The new definition should also improve and reflect that improved understanding of the performance of biomaterials. All these suggestions by Professor Williams were brought together in the proposal of a new definition of biocompatibility, which reflects the new thinking. Here is the definition. Biocompatibility is a property of a system, not only of a material, and should include aspects and characteristics of both the material and the biological milieu environment within which the material device is implanted. Adoption and use of the new definition proposed by Professor Williams requires, first and foremost, that we stop equating the concept biocompatibility only with a material property. Instead, we should use the term biocompatible system instead of a biocompatible material. An example he gives is that instead of saying titanium is biocompatible, we should use a statement such as titanium within cortical bone constitutes a biocompatible system. The effects of the patient and clinical techniques should always be considered. As biomedical engineers, we may have excellent products and devices put together, designed, formulated, assembled, and delivered to our colleagues in the clinics and the hospitals. What happens during surgery and afterwards in the care that the recipient patients receive is something that we do not control. Major factor which nobody can control, of course, is the patient factor. We know that as biomedical engineers, we design materials and devices having in mind the normal average human being. We know very well that our materials and devices will be introduced in the bodies of patients of various ages and patients who may have all kinds of other health-related problems. These are two aspects that we as biomedical engineers cannot control. In conclusion, biocompatibility is an important concept in the implantable biomaterials and medical devices fields, which must be revised, refined, and modified as and when needed. Such revisions and updates are necessary in order to make biocompatibility relevant to the advances of science and engineering now and in the future. This is the end of Lecture 31, Biocompatibility, Past, Present, and Future.